Welcome back. This is N1IR and this is Section 8, Repeaters. Okay, before you press the push to talk switch, listen, make sure the frequency is clear for use. So here's an example of two HTs. The one on the left is an ICOM dual band, and the one on the right is a Baofeng dual band. So in one of the videos I'm going to do for this day is I'm going to compare the two radios. This one is an ICOM. It's a bit more expensive than the Baofengs. The Baofengs go for around $35, and the ICOMs, the Azus, and the Kenwoods are usually around $200 or so. So there's advantages and disadvantages to each one, but I'm going to do that in a different video. But this is a HT, a handheld transceiver. Okay, when you get your license, listen for a week on a repeater to get the feel of how to communicate. I wouldn't say just a week, maybe a few days, a couple days. A repeater station simultaneously retransmits the signal of an amateur station on a different channel or channels. So as in the last section, we discussed repeaters, that the repeater is listening on one set of frequencies and transmitting on the other. And the mobile stations are the complete opposite of it. So the repeater, the input wave going higher closer to the receiver at the repeater site, direct wave fading from the ground and obstructions. So this is a comparison between the repeater and simplex. So if we go simplex, you have things in the way, and you can't get too far from it. Only maybe about a mile or 2 miles with an HT. But if you go through a repeater, you can get up to 25 miles, up to 50 miles really easy. It bounces your signal through the repeater. And the repeater is on a high spot, usually on a hill, on a mountaintop, or on a building. And it's at a higher power as well. So your little HT is only running about 5 watts, but if you use the repeater, you get to use that higher location and the 50 watts. Auxiliary repeaters or space stations can automatically retransmit the signals of an amateur station. So we have repeaters, we have space stations, and we have satellites that can retransmit the signals of the amateur station. The difference between a repeater transmit and receive frequency is called repeater offset, and it's different for each band. For the more popular bands, we're going to go over 2 meter, which is 0.6 megahertz or 600 kilohertz offset, or 70 centimeters, which is a 5 megahertz offset. And there's a positive and negative offset depending on the frequency ranges that you're in. So if your repeater transmit frequency is anywhere from 145.2 to 145.495, it's a negative offset. If your repeater is within 146.61 to 146.955, it's a positive offset. And anywhere from 147 to 147.395, it's a positive offset. A little bit differently on the 70 centimeter band is a little bit easier. Anywhere from 442 to 444.95 is a positive offset. Anywhere from 447 to 449.995 is a negative offset. And a lot of the radios will automatically do this for you. The only weird oddball one, there's a couple frequencies that can be either positive or negative. So I'll get into that a little bit later. The most common repeater frequency offset on a 2 meter band is plus or minus 600 kilohertz or 0.6 megahertz. The common repeater frequency offset for the 70 centimeter band or 440 megahertz is the plus or minus 5 megahertz. Common problems that you might cause to be able to hear but not access the repeater even when transmitting with the proper offset. So if you have your radio set up and you have the offset correct, when you hit the PTT, it's going to show you the transmit frequency. So you can do the math and figure out if you're transmitting on the correct frequency. Now, a couple things that you might keep in mind: if you don't access the repeater for some reason, the repeater receiver might require an audio burst. That's very popular over in Europe. They have a you hit the PTT twice and it gives you an audio burst. Not too much in the U.S. though. It's not very popular in the U.S. But in the U.S. we have the tone access, the PL tone or the CTCSS. So you might have to have a tone in there in order to access the repeater. And we'll get into those tones later. The repeater receiver may require a digital code set, a DCS tone sequence. This is similar to the CTCSS, but it's digital. It gives you a digital tone. All these choices are correct. CTCSS is the term used to describe the use of a subaudible tone transmitted with normal voice audio to open the squelch of a receiver. So here's the list of CTCSS tones, and this comes standard with most radios now. Some of the older radios back in the 80s might not have had the tones, but you can add tone boards to them and transmit tones on the older ones as well. So these are all subaudible tones. You don't hear them. They're transmitted under your carrier. So it goes anywhere from 67 Hertz up to 254.1. And these are all standard. Okay, your call sign is a brief statement often transmitted in the place of CQ to indicate that you are listening on a repeater. So if I was just listening on a repeater, if I just wanted to talk to someone, I'd say this is N1IR listening. That's it. Or you could say CQ, but generally on repeaters, just say your call sign, listening, or if you're mobile, or this is N1IR mobile, and someone will come back to you. The frequency coordinator recommends a transmit or receive channels and other parameters for auxiliary repeater station. So the frequency coordinators are selected by amateur operators in local region areas whose stations are eligible to be auxiliary or repeater stations. So as a technician, you are allowed to set up a repeater and own your own repeater. Any amateur can do that. But you have to go through a frequency coordinator so you don't interfere with other repeaters that happen to be on that same frequencies. If the frequency is available, and if it is someone else transmitting on that frequency, how far away are you from them? And there's a whole bunch of calculations that they do with antenna gains and all that stuff. So frequency coordinators are selected by amateurs to operate in local regional areas whose stations are eligible to be a repeater station. Sending a call sign using CW or phone emissions is the method of call sign identification required for a station transmitting phone signals. So on a repeater you can send Morse code, or just with phone send your call sign. So CW would be the dits and das, and phone would just be your voice. So either way you can identify. Most repeaters, some of the older repeaters, identify with Morse code or CW. Some of the newer repeaters actually have a voice chip on board and it announces with a voice. And that's the end of the section, and we're going to go on to the Q&A section next.